couple of weeks ago on Instagram, I asked you guys what questions you had for me, and I told you that I'd be answering them on YouTube over the next several weeks. If you missed out on that, feel free to still ask me the questions. You can just email me trendypilots@gmail.com, or you can even make a little comment underneath this video. But if you do have any questions, please let me know so that I can answer those for you on YouTube over the next few weeks. So the question I'm going to be answering today was asked by somebody who is 19. They have no aviation background and they want to be an airline pilot. What are the best options? So first things first, you have to decide where it is that you want to train. There's quite a few different options, and honestly, just get on Google and start searching it. But it depends on what it is that you want. You know, for me, and I've talked about this before, I chose to go to an accredited university that offered flight training because I wanted my bachelor's degree and I wanted all of my licenses. So now to get to a regional airline, most regionals do not require a bachelor's degree. But to get to a major airline, most of them do require a bachelor's degree. So I personally think it's just easier to get that degree when you're younger. But there are some people who just go through accelerated schools, they get to a regional, and then they get their bachelor's degree while they're at the regional. That's fine too. You can also choose an accelerated program, the one that's most widely known, and there's lots of them, so just get on Google and search. But the one that I had quite a few friends go to, which is why I know about it, was ATP. Basically, with the accelerated programs, you go through like 0 to flight instructing in a very short amount of time. You're fully immersed in it. You're doing it 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. It's very, trying to think of the right word, time consuming, and it's just a fire hose of information. So if you like that stuff and you're intense and you just want to get in there and get it done and get to the airlines as soon as you can, then an accelerated program might be the best option for you. Another option that you could do is a cadet program associated with the airline, like the major airline that you want to work for. And again, this just is you getting onto Google and typing in the major airline you want to work for and see if they have a cadet program or some sort of like a flow-through program, maybe a way that they like their pilots to get their training. So look at that. Or some people also just go to a local FBO, which is fixed base operator. They just find their own flight instructor and they do all the flight training kind of on their own. It's not associated with any other program. It's just like a one-on-one with the flight instructor. That's a nice option too. However, it does seem like people who choose to do those programs, it does take them a little bit longer and there's no degree associated with it. It's kind of hard to get loans if you need that for doing something like that. But that is another option, is just finding your own flight instructor at the little airport near you and getting your hours that way. The second thing you need to figure out is how are you going to pay for your flight training? Now, some people's parents pay for their flight training. That's amazing. That way you can just pick any program you want and just go for it if you have the funds. I was not that lucky. I had to pay for all of it on my own. And so that was another reason I decided to go to an accredited university. And I did go to Utah Valley University. I had a great experience there. They're an accredited university, which means that you can get financial aid, like federal loans, to help pay for the college. And then you can also get, I don't know if they're still private loans. You'd have to look into it because I think things have changed a little bit since I've gone through. But then you can get additional student loans to help pay for the flight training costs. That does help if you're going to an accredited university. And the nice thing is they'll have a financial aid department that will help you figure this out. So you're not just like trying to figure it out all on your own. And that's what I did. I went to the financial aid department at the university. I told them which degree I was in. I didn't have any money and they helped me figure out the best way for me to pay for it, which was super nice. How you're gonna pay for it is a very big step, especially because it's incredibly expensive. Like, don't think that $5,000 is gonna get you all the way through. You're gonna need like $50,000 plus to get you through just flight training alone. And if you're attending a program that has a degree associated with it, tuition is usually going to be on top of it. I don't want that to scare you, because if it's what you really want to do, pull out the loans, get the money you need, and just get it done right now. Because would you rather get a degree that you don't really love and spend your whole life doing something you don't really love because you were afraid to pull out student loans? Or would you rather just bite the bullet, get the loans, and then have this amazing 40-year career that you absolutely love? It's worth it if it's what you want to do. If it's your passion, just get those loans and get it done. That's what I did. And if you're really dedicated about it, I'll do a video about this later on. If you're really dedicated though, you can get those student loans paid off so quickly. The third question I would say that you want to ask yourself is, what is the major airline that you want to work for? You know, if it's United Airlines or American or Delta, whichever airline it is, look at what those pilots did to get to where they are. For example, I went through Utah Valley University, and they didn't have a cadet program or anything when I was there. They do now, but they're paired up with SkyWest Airlines, which is a really great regional carrier. That's who I flew with for 4.5 years. From SkyWest Airlines, the major airline that I work for now, a lot of that airline hired a lot of SkyWest pilots. Even yesterday, I flew a trip with a guy who used to work for SkyWest Airlines, and he's now at the major airline I'm at too. That's an idea, is figure out which airline it is your dream, and then figure out what those pilots did to get where they are. There's some airlines that really only like to hire military pilots. There's other airlines that like to hire pilots who've gone through accelerated programs or pilots who've done their own cadet program. This might seem like a challenging or intimidating step, but just start getting on Google and seeing there's so many gouges and other pilots who will post things online who are at these major airlines, and they'll talk about what they've done. The other thing I'm gonna do is post on Instagram after I put this video on YouTube, and I'm just going to ask for other people who are working at the airlines, ask what they did to get their hours and how they got their flight training, so that we can get a better idea, because I know my experience, but I don't know all of the options that are out there. But I know it's important, because the airline that I work for now is the one I dreamed of working for. And so I kind of went backwards from there and said, I want to work for there. How do I get that job? What type of pilots are they hiring? Where are those pilots getting their flight training from? The fourth and final thing, the tip for you if you have no aviation background, that's how I was. I had no aviation background. Just know that it is going to be a lot of information, whether you choose to do an accelerated program, or what I did, if you go through an accredited university and get a degree, or if you're going through a cadet program. If you don't have any aviation experience or background in it, it's completely possible, very doable, to still become an airline pilot. It's just gonna be a really high learning curve. I talked about this in my last YouTube video, how I was really discouraged when I started my flight training, and I actually quit for a little bit because I started comparing myself to all of these other guys in the program who had come from aviation. They already had flown for 50 hours and they knew all the parts of an airplane and they knew how the engine worked. I didn't know any of that. And so I just had to study a lot more than them. But the thing is I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was my passion. So even though it was more challenging and I had to put more effort into it than some of these other people who'd come from aviation backgrounds, it was super possible. But just be prepared for that, because I wasn't prepared for it, and it kind of threw me off guard, and that's when I quit for a few months. So just know it's going to be a high learning curve, but you can do it. And if this is your passion, you're just going to have to push through all those barriers and all the difficulties and just get it done, and just study your butt off so you can get to where you want to be. That's it for today. Again, if you have any questions that you want me to answer here on YouTube, then just email me. The easiest way is just going to be to email me, trendypilots@gmail.com, or you can DM me on Instagram. And until next time, happy flying.